Hey, according to Listen Notes, I am the
School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Hey, I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com, where I help you plan, launch, and monetize your podcast. Before we're going to talk about Listen Notes today, I want to remind you that you can like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. And so I've had people starting to obsess because it's stats. We used to obsess over new and noteworthy. Please don't do that. And now we're starting to obsess over Listen Notes. Well, why shouldn't we? Because if you look at it, here's Listen Notes. And you can see the School of Podcasting is a top 1% of podcasts. Well, if we blow that up a little bit, I could take this image and put it out on social. And, look at me. I'm a top 1% of what, though? The answer is of the 2.8 million podcasts that they say. In fact, I clicked on there's this little button over here. If you click on this is the verbiage. And so number one, monthly, we can all run over every month to see where do I go. That's always fun. And it says, what's the global rank? I'm in the top 1% of most popular shows out of 2,846,000. Okay. And they do have stats that, how many dead podcasts. It's interesting that they don't show how many are somewhat inactive. And for that, I like to go to podcastindustryinsights.com. And you can see again where they're saying 2.4 million podcasts. This is just looking at Apple. And Listen Notes, I believe, is looking at Listen Notes website. But here's some things you want to look at. It shows you how many episodes have been removed and shows have been removed. But what I really want to get to is right here. How many active shows do you have? So when you see that you're number one out of 2.8 million, that means that only 506,000 are active. You're ranking against shows that are dead, more or less. And I'm like, but people are putting this in their media kits and like, look at me, I'm a 1%er. And I'm like, really? And so there's that. It's a lot of really great information here. You'll see down at the bottom how many episodes, 25% of podcasts, because you'll see on their website where the number one media host is Anchor. And I know you're like, oh, you poked the bear, Dave. No, what I mean when it comes to Anchor, there are many reasons why I dislike Anchor, and I'm not going to go down that road there. But there are many shows that have one episode. And it's usually this. Hey, is this working? Hey, I think it's recording. Oh, yeah, that's it. And then it's there forever. Great. So I say that again, not to be kind of like Dave Jackson, dream crusher, but when you're number one, let's go back. It is actually, there are things before my time, but in the early days of television, there was a guy named Milton Berle, Uncle Milty, and Uncle Milty was number one on television. You know why? Because he was up against a test pattern. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Good job, Uncle Milty. Yeah, it's easy to be number one when there is no one against you. So I say that when you see your number one in Listen Notes, you're beating a test pattern. You're beating that nothing. Now, also, just for the record, when even Daniel here at Podcast Industry Insights, 2.4 million, that's in Apple. If you go to podcastindex.org, there are 4 million podcasts, and you can see how many have had an episode out in the last 90 days. I call that active, 577,000. You should definitely have your show here in podcastindex.org. It's part of the Podcasting 2.0 initiative, and they have some great apps as well under Value for Value. There's a whole bunch of new apps over here. So I say this to the person who was like, holy cow, I'm number one, or I'm in the 1% or whatever. You're beating, again, I'm not trying to discourage you. What I'm trying to do is help you hold on to your integrity, because eventually everybody's going to figure out what that stat really means. And eventually people are going to go, he's still quoting his Listen Note stats. But here's what you want to focus on, not stats. Focus on your audience. My bumper sticker, spend $100 on a microphone, spend 100 hours getting to know your audience. It always comes back to your audience. Should my show be long or short? Who's your audience? Should I do it with who's your audience? It all comes back to who is your audience. Because when you give your audience what they want, they will tell a friend, and then your stats will go up. It all starts with knowing who your audience is. I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com. If you need help with your podcast, that's what I love to do. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.